deals with is the period around World War II. And in fact, the battles of World War II of the American Army in Europe and the Pacific are taking place right during the action of this book. And then it moves on towards the end of the book, towards the discovery of the Holocaust, of the fact that millions upon millions, despite what our friend Mel Gibson has to say, millions upon millions of Jews in Europe were murdered systematically in the most horrendous way you could possibly imagine. Maybe 1 million children thrown into gas chambers on top of their parents. And even though the war was ending, we were discussing it in one of our classes the other day, some of the people in the room here, even though the war was ending, they were not going to hold back from rounding up the people, for instance, in Hungary. And they took 200,000 people out in like a few weeks' time in the end of 1944 when the war was all over, really. And, you know, because the Hungarian government fell and the Germans could take over. Italy, too. The Italian government under Mussolini wouldn't let them take Italian Jews out, but when the Americans invaded and the Italian government fell, then the Germans took over, and then they started shipping them out. And there's some famous books about Italian a few who survived the concentration camps, many didn't. You go to cities in northern Italy, you'll see the names on plaques in places of people who didn't come back from the camps and so on. So, you know, when the news from this was coming to America, he shows the effect of it on these people here in Brooklyn, who are living in Brooklyn. And then the background shifts to the whole struggle for Zionism and the founding of a Jewish state in Palestine. And that's the rest of the historical background of this book. So it's from World War II, so it's basically from around 1944 to about 1948. That's what the historical background is, and it's pretty autobiographical. So, but the interesting thing is the way he writes it. So let's look at the book if we can. And it starts with, he does do Hasid with one S, by the way, as I see here. It starts with, of all things, what? A baseball game. And that's, you don't usually picture these people playing baseball. So, it talks about Danny in chapter 1. Danny and I. The narrator is on. Danny is one Hasidic sect. And they came from Poland, a lot of them. Danny's sect comes from southern Poland, he says. They speak Yiddish. What's Yiddish? Yiddish is in Russia, the word Jew was pronounced like that. In German, it's Juden. In Russian, it becomes Yid, and so on. There are different words move from culture to culture in different ways. In any case, when you pull these trousers up, that the belt never keeps up from this expensive Italian belt that I have that doesn't have any loopholes in it. You're supposed to be able to put the hook through the actual material of the belt, but nothing ever seems to work in these belts. So why do you wear them? Oh, because they're expensive and fancy, so I thought I should wear them. Any case, so what's the narrator's name? Danny is basically originally his opponent, but ultimately he becomes his friend. What's the narrator's name? Reuben. So it's a story of Reuben. I think his last name is Moll. And Danny. What's Danny's last name? sure. Well, we'll come to it, won't we? Huh? You, let's see. Well, if you can, I see you guys haven't read this either, huh? God, you do a lot of work in this world, you guys. I have to work for you. Anyway, we'll come upon his last name pretty quickly. Danny's father is a famous rabbi. But since these are not normal Jews, this is a Jewish